10 years ago this week, something very magical happened. I uploaded my first Poi video to YouTube. Now, there's a lot that's happened in my channel and my life since I posted that first video, but that video is definitely responsible for everything that's happened on this channel since. Drex here from DrexFactor.com, and to commemorate 10 years of Poi videos on my channel, I wanted to do a little bit of a retrospective. 10 moments from the past 10 years. Make sure to join my notification squad by clicking on that subscribe button as well as the notification bell so you know exactly when I'm dropping a new video. Before we dive in, I just want to take a moment to give a shout out to the friends of the channel. Big thanks to Dark Monk, Flow Toys, LMF Props, Spinballs, and Ultra Poi for helping to make the videos on this channel possible. You can visit them all by following the links down in the description of this video. Now, at this point, I have uploaded thousands of videos and hundreds of hours of footage, so it's kind of hard to pick through to find the most important moments to both me as well as you guys. But I'm going to do my best to sort through and pick out what I think are the most important moments in terms of what my channel became over time. Bear in mind, these are not going to be in chronological order. So let's dive in, shall we? Number 10, my first tech blog. Way back on September 8th, 2008, I uploaded my very first tech blog, my first Poi video to YouTube, and it was terrible. The lighting was awful, the sound was awful, the video quality was awful, and let's face it, I was not ready to be an on-camera personality yet. Now, the funny thing is that I wanted to get into podcasting, but I had no idea how big a commitment it was going to be. I figured that uploading a video every week would give me at least some idea of how much time it would take to record and publish a podcast every week. Plus which I'd seen Poi videos from folks like Woolsey and a variety of others on YouTube, and I figured, hey, I could probably do that too. I literally just sat down a point-and-shoot camera on a table in the living room of a row house that I lived in when I first moved to Washington, D.C. This camera was really not intended for taking video, but you know what? Just to get started, it got the job done. Everything that I've done since then, both with my channel as well as a video producer, has all come from this one video. Number 9, the new intro. In February of 2013, I released a video called The Timing and Direction Game. And what's really great about this video is not the content of it, although it is a fun exercise, but the beginning of it. See, this was the first time that I had really created something stylistic that was unique to my channel. The intro that played right before this video started. For months, I'd been looking at the videos that Tim Goddard had been creating on his own channel and realizing that a new standard of video production was going to be necessary in the flow arts world. No longer could I just sit down a camera and absentmindedly talk at it for 10 minutes. I had to actually create something that was going to be visually interesting to my audience. Plus which, this is the first time that I got to use After Effects, which has since become a cornerstone of how I create post-production effects in my videos. So thank you, Tim, for dragging me kicking and screaming into the modern day video world. It was so worth it. Number 8, the week in flow. On July 17th, 2014, I started what turned out to be a very ill-fated experiment, but one that had a good intention behind it. For months, people in the flow arts world had been complaining that now that there was so much content that was being released in the flow arts world, how would you sort through it to find the good stuff? My mind went back to an offhand comment that I'd heard my friend Jonah say at a flow festival the previous year. He'd said that one of the functions of my channel was that I was reporting on the Poi news, so I figured why not make that literal? I quickly discovered, however, that the resources necessary to put together a weekly video like this were far beyond the capabilities of me as a sole content creator. Even when I switched to a monthly format, it really messed with the production schedule that I'd set up for myself, and that was allowing me to put out 1 or 2 videos per week. Unfortunately, these videos failed to generate enough of an audience or buzz to justify the amount of work that they took. But I'm really grateful to them because it taught me a lot about how to make my channel sustainable. What can I do and what can't I do? This is one of the most important lessons that I've learned in the past few years. And before you ask, no, this is not a feature that's coming back to my channel anytime soon. If it's something that you would like to see, you should go create it. Number 7. Collaborations with Insignia. So I'd been running my channel for less than a year when I dropped my tech blog number 30 on April 15th, 2009. And what was special about this video was that it featured content that was based upon things that I had seen another Poi artist writing about, as well as producing in his own YouTube videos. Christian Medina was and still continues to be a really good friend, and the work that he was creating was really inspiring to me. It was really through this series of videos that I discovered the power of using social media as well as user-generated content to be able to create collaborations across great distances. And these were exactly the qualities that were going to allow Poi to grow as an art form very, very rapidly. I would later have collaborations with people in other countries, some of whom I don't share a language with. But this was really the moment that opened that door for me. Plus which, it was a backdoor way for me to learn Zan's diamond. By cutting up triquetras into pieces and sewing them back together in different orders, I eventually realized that Zan's diamond was just a bunch of triquetras that had all been slapped together. This is a lesson that I continue continue to give to my own students. Sometimes the best way to learn something is to figure it out on accident. Number 6, my favorite flow video. So this is the only video on this list that's actually going to come from this year, and it comes from June, a flow video that I did to a song by DoomTree called The Grand Experiment. What makes this video so special? Well, to put it bluntly, I have never had to work so hard to put together a video in my life. It took nearly a week's worth of work to both prepare everything that I needed to know to produce this video, as well as to edit and publish it. This is probably one of the hardest jobs I've ever had in producing a single video, and definitely the hardest flow video I've ever done. Believe it or not, I actually had to shoot this video twice. The first time I shot it, I brought the footage home and really quickly realized that the camera settings were such that I couldn't actually make out any of the images that were produced in the visual Poi. I had to spend several days playing around with different camera settings, as well as the images that I was programming into the visual Poi, in order to get the best possible result before trying to shoot again. And when we did go back to shoot, it turned out that I had an incredibly narrow window of time to do it in. There was only about 10 minutes during the sunset where it would be both dark enough that the camera could see the images in the visual Poi perfectly, as well as still be able to see my body. Plus which, this was the first time that I'd really made extensive use of a Steadicam. Before this, I'd been using some post-production trickery to make it look like I was using a Steadicam, but the problem was that I couldn't have any motion blur in my footage. Without the motion blur, I couldn't have trails either. So this was a really special experiment in trying to put together a number of different things that I was learning about video production. And in the end, it may not be the most popular video I've ever produced, but man, it's definitely the one that I am most proud of. I had to work my ass off to get this video done, and I am so proud of the results. Number 5, profiles in Poi. Now, I really wanted to narrow this down to just a single interview, but when push comes to shove, I've realized that the thing I'm most proud of with this series is 2 interviews. The first with Nick Woolsey, who without a doubt is the biggest influence that I've had in terms of creating online content. The second is with Zen Moore, who's also an old school Poi spinner, but who had a very different take on his career. These 2 videos stand in such stark contrast to each other in terms of how these people look back at their careers and the choices that they've made in them. I have the deepest respect for both of these people, and it's so amazing to see 2 people who lived through many of the same footnotes of Poi history, but seeing them in such a radically different light. Will I ever do another Profiles in Poi interview? It's hard to say. I definitely have some people that I'd like to talk to, but quite frankly, if these stand up as the best of the interviews that I did with the series, then I'm okay with that. Number 4, my first top 10 Poi Spinners video. Today it feels like something of an institution, but when I dropped my first top 10 Poi Spinners of the Year video, it was 2012, and it was controversial. I'd gotten the idea to do this video from another YouTube channel run by a juggler by the name of Luke Burridge. Every year, Luke Burridge counts down the top 40 jugglers online by having people leave names in the comment section of a voting video. Sounds familiar, right? Back in 2012, there was and continues to be a very strong desire in the Poi world to see a Poi spinner wind up on this list. Then as now, I don't think that's ever going to happen, and the biggest reason is that it feels like we're begging for a ticket to somebody else's party. So the thought occurred to me, why not just have our own party? Now, I got a lot of pushback on this idea, both from Poi spinners as well as jugglers. That first year, I truly thought by the end of the process that everybody in the flow arts world hated me. But over the years, this project has grown, and in my mind is kind of a historical document for what happens in the Poi world every year, who our heroes are, what they work on, and what's important to the community each year. Someday I hope that future Poi spinners are able to go back and look at these videos and see a record of the community that they are a part of and how it has evolved through the years. And if you're watching, Mr. Burridge, thank you so much for the inspiration. Number 3, my first beginner tutorial. So in January of 2012, I had a bit of a problem that I had to solve. I had begun to travel and teach workshops, and I was getting a lot of pushback, specifically from people who were wanting to get into the beginning part of Poi spinning. They knew that I was putting up my tech blogs, but they were worried that any class I was going to teach was going to be too advanced for them. This was a hard lesson for me in terms of how branding works. People associated my name with advanced Poi spinning, even though I didn't think of myself that way. So in an effort to combat this, I started producing beginner tutorials, showing people that I could teach basic Poi spinning as well. And as a happy accident, it turned out that this was exactly the type of content that most people on YouTube were hungry for. I saw my beginner tutorials, including this one, how to do turns, explode in popularity. Now they're among the most popular videos that I have ever posted in my channel. It's definitely not a stretch to say that my current popularity would not exist if not for me going back and doing all these beginner tutorials back in the day. And of course, it has certainly helped me be able to teach workshops. Nowadays, people think of me as a teacher and not just as a hotshot young tech spinner. Number 2, linear isolation series. On April 25th, 2013, I turned in one of my biggest projects to date. I released a 5-part tutorial series on linear isolations, with each video dropping on the exact same day. They were all meant to be watched together and cross-linked to each other through the annotations. It is crazy the amount of work that it took to put this series together, especially because I was keeping up with my normal weekly schedule at the same time. Ironically enough, it wasn't until several years later that I came upon the idea of doing online courses, which I wish I had known when I created this series of videos. It would have made my life so much easier. This series was incredibly ambitious for me at the time, featuring some of the most involved writing, editing, and post-production work that I had ever done. It was also my first big use of Poi animations, that is, ways of using visualizations through After Effects to demonstrate Poi tricks. This is another one of those projects that just never really found the audience that I was hoping for, but I'm still incredibly proud of, just because of the amount of things that I learned how to do in the course of creating it. And after all that, the number one moment for me in the history of my YouTube channel. Number 1, diagonal planes. I know, this seems like a really weird choice, but stick with me here. My tech blog number 42 dropped on July 2nd of 2009, and it is the single most important video that I have ever uploaded to my channel for one enormous reason. It has nothing to do with the tricks, which, let's face it, were really sloppy, and I wasn't doing a very good job of showing off what I was trying to do here. But what I did do was create something of a contract with my audience that I've been maintaining ever since. You see, the genesis for this video came out of me traveling through Spain. I'd run into Alien John right after the European Juggling Convention, and he'd showed me a few things that he'd been working on with other Poi Spinners there. When I got home, I created a video about the things that he'd taught me, and it created an aha moment for me, because I realized that through my travels, I was getting to experience things and meet people that most of my viewers would never get the chance to meet. By creating these videos, I was disseminating that information and knowledge. I was making it easier for people to learn things and for the art to progress. You see, before this, I created videos for me, and this was the moment when I finally realized that by creating these videos, I could do a service to other people. And that has been the core idea behind everything that I've done since then, a contract between me and you, the audience. I provide something that's going to help you guys out when you give me your views. This is the thing more than anything else that's kept my channel going for the past 10 years, is the knowledge that I am doing something that is helping out other people. So, while this video itself might not have been anything special, what it represented was me finally understanding why I was creating videos and keeping my YouTube channel going. And it's a lesson that applies to this very day. So those are my picks for the top 10 most important moments in the history of my YouTube channel. What are some of your favorites? Please let me know down in the comments. Let me know what work I've done that has affected you. I also just want to send out a massive thank you to all of my awesome supporters on Patreon. You guys are very literally the reason that this channel still exists here. The channel was not sustainable, and I had to use other business outlets in order to subsidize it before doing this. Thanks to Patreon, I've been able to make the channel pay for itself, and it's the biggest thing that's supported me as I'm continuing my flow journey. So, thank you so much. And finally, thank you so much to all of you guys out there in YouTube space who've been watching for the past 10 years. Without your views, likes, and comments, it wouldn't have been possible for me to pursue the flow arts full time. Thank you for your support, thank you for making this channel possible, and thank you for giving me a mission here in life. Here's hoping that there are many more years to come, and that they are every bit as good as the past 10 years. Thanks, and I'll see you guys soon. If you dug this video and you'd like to see more like it in the future, please subscribe to my channel by clicking up here. Over here are some other videos that you may enjoy, including a playlist of videos that are just like the one that you just watched. Finally, if you'd like to support the work that I do on Patreon, you can either click down here or go to patreon.com/DrexFactor Poi. Thanks in advance, and peace.